Hi, and welcome to this AI and C# video on the Microsoft Agent Framework and how we use Azure AI Foundry and its web search tool. So if you don't know the web search tool, I would recommend you also see the Responses API web search tool video, where I show the differences between without web search and with web search. But of course, the main highlight is that AI models have a cutoff date in the past, like last year or 6 months ago, so it can't answer any up-to-date information. So they need their web searches, in most cases Bing, when it comes to OpenAI and Azure Foundry, and then get that data to the LLM so it can actually answer up-to-date questions. And I'm also going to quickly start in the Responses API because the Responses API and web searches are infinitely more easy to use compared to Azure AI Foundry, unfortunately. Because down here, we just need to say we want a hosted web search tool, and that's it, and the rest are taken care of. We, of course, pay for it, but as an extra service on top of tokens. But beyond that, it is very, very simple to work with. It doesn't work in, it only works in the OpenAI client. It doesn't work in Azure OpenAI client, so the basic stuff with the Responses API. So we are told to use AI Foundry. And AI Foundry is a bit of a journey to get web searches working, because in order to do it, we need a Bing resource. And we need to have that Bing resource connected to our Azure AI Foundry and then put it into the tool. So the first thing you need to do is you need to make yourself a Bing resource. And they are just create Bing, and then you can create one of these. And they are quite expensive, $35 per 1,000 transactions. All is relevant, of course, but you make one of those. And then, if we look at it as it says in here as well, this can only be used in AI Foundry. So I don't know why we need to make it here, but okay. So we go to our Foundry, and we just take an agent or make a new agent. Because as far as I can see, there's no API to connect the Foundry project with your Bing using code. But you only need to do it once, and then you can hook it up to various agents. So if I just make a dummy agent here and say add knowledge, I can then go in and say I want to ground with Bing. And in my case, it's already hooked up here, but else I would say new resource and choose that resource that I have out in my my Azure. Once I have that, wrong one, we get this one. And this one, if we click at that, we can see an ID. And this ID, it's not dangerous for me to show it because this ID can only be worked with if you have access to my AI Foundry. So this very, very long ID is, for some odd reason, the API key of this. So it says connection ID here, and essentially what I'm doing with my configuration is I'm putting in all this to tell that I have a Bing search configuration. So I'll just switch back to what I have in my system here. So we need to make one of these Bing grounding search configuration, and then we need to give it into a tools parameter object here. And as you can see here, it requires a collection, and then it tells that there can actually be one of them. that happens a lot with AI Foundry in general. So it's a bit strange, but again, this is Microsoft being enterprise, and at some point we might need multiple and so on. But if we do this, if you make a Bing subscription tied to your AI Foundry and get this connection ID, you are up and running with the Bing tool, because now if we run it here, set a breakpoint, and as you can see, this is the long string that we talked about. We then new up an agent. We tell it about its being good at space news in this case. And we then give it a tool definition with the Bing grounding definition that have these parameters, which was again one search configuration because we allowed only one anyway. And then we can go in here, make our agent, get our thread, and then we can ask what today's space news are. And I will just let it run. And we will see that it comes back with the latest space news from October 26, 2025, as of this recording. We can see it used a lot of tokens because we went out to the web, searched for space news, got a bunch of links and text back, and used that in order to answer the question. So once you have your configuration and stuff, it is just as simple as Response API. But until then, you really need to bang your head again, find out exactly how this setup works, why they have done it so difficult. Again, enterprise, so someone can control and list and things, but it can be done, and at least now you know, so you don't need to go through the research I have done. One other thing is that in web search for Response API, it can give citations back, meaning it can tell this story came from this URL, this story came from this URL. It doesn't seem like the AI Foundry support that, unfortunately. So if we loop to our response, there is no citations, unfortunately. Could be a bug, or could be, it's probably a bug. But beyond that, it works at least, so we can get our up-to-date news from an AI compared to just a cut-off date several months in the past. So with that, see you in the next one.